Oh, now
Well, I was on to didn't act
Ooh.
right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but you.
Okay, so now is
Séptimo.
You already looked at them all, George.
Yeah.
Whose movie is this?
so we're back.
Are we on?
We're back.
Okay.
Okay, so Bob, I think this
Darín,
is
Darín, Ricardo Darín, Séptimo, watch.
Decime, linda.
Goldstein te quiere en tribunales, en 1 hora en la puerta del juzgado, que se le ocurrieron un par de ideas.
Vamos, que llegamos tarde. Ya la escuchaste, mamá, está prohibido bajar corriendo por las escaleras.
Pero papá, ya somos grandes. Vas a ver que hoy te ganamos.
¡Gané! Chicos, bajen, que se me hace tarde. ¿Dónde están? Chicos. Chicos. Vamos, chicos.
¿Lo viste? Por acá no pasaron.
Sean de mierda. Delia, los chicos. No los puedo encontrar. No sé dónde están. Le pregunté a todos los vecinos, toqué todas las puertas. Nadie sabe nada, nadie vio nada.
Ya, Sebastián, ¿por qué mierda no apareces? Está a punto de irse todo al carajo.
Los vamos a encontrar, te lo juro. Los vamos a encontrar. Van a aparecer.
Okay. First of all, this man can do no wrong. He is so great. I think this was the 4th time I watched this movie. I can only talk about it up to a certain point. The story begins of a couple who have had a really rough year. He has treated his wife poorly. He's had an affair with someone else for a year. They're
her
separated.
best friend.
Yeah, her best friend. Her best friend.
Not just anybody.
And yet it's Ricardo Darín, so I love the guy. He loves his kids. They both love their children, and when he's coming, she's heading. She and the children are going to Spain, I think, from Argentina. This takes place in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. They live on the 7th floor of this building, and he plays a game with the son and his daughter that when they go downstairs, he'll take the elevator and they'll take the stairs, and then he'll meet them downstairs and take them off to school. Well, they don't show up on the ground floor, and with the exception of the first, maybe 5 minutes of the movie, the next 45 minutes of the film take place entirely in the building as his emotions escalate, trying to find out what's happened to his kids. Somebody in this building is responsible. Somebody's involved in this. He's got to find his kids. And there's a back plot of something where they need him, especially to get something taken care of at work. And it's a matter of just following this guy whose kids mean everything to him, and seeing how far he will go to find out what happened to his kids. And his behavior becomes pretty extreme. And every step of the way, I said, "That's it. That's the way I'd behave. That's the way I would do it." It's not something that's fun to watch, but that's what I would do. And then after a certain point, we find out some more information, and the movie expands. But that's all I'm going to tell you about it, because I don't want to ruin anything.
Yeah, I agree. Ricardo Darín can do no wrong. It was like I also felt his panic building all the time. But the plot is in the beginning is great. It's like, okay, so he's taking the elevator down, they're running down the steps, and they're going to meet, right? And they're not there. Yeah. So it's kind of like, how can that happen? It's like you're the same. It's like it's kind of like it's like I have my kid there, I turn around and they're not there. It's like, how could that happen? It's like, and you start to judge. You're like, I'm not crazy. How can that happen? And so he also goes that, and you also feel that. It's like, it's like frantic. So he also is a lawyer, and he has a case. I guess it's against a mob person, or he's going to...
Or something where somebody, a very powerful person is going to...
And so you begin to think, is it that? Is it possibly that? And then he begins to suspect everybody from the car person to the... And I had one problem with the kidnapping, or what's the kidnapping is that I was like, shouldn't there be more cops around? Like, if there's a kidnapping,
yeah, really,
shouldn't there be like somebody like more cops around, like interrogating?
Because that guy he told him, call the cops, call the police.
Yeah.
And then
remember the guy who's helping him is a cop.
Yeah,
right. But the other guy
called with the kidnapping or the disappearance.
But but possibly because of like in America, right? They have to be gone 24 hours before they start the investigation.
Yeah, but,
and this is just immediately happening.
That's a grown-up person, not a child.
Mm-hmm.
A child is different. And so I don't know what the law is in Argentina, but it just seemed to me there should be more cops around. Like if there's somebody, they set up equipment to tell you like if the person's going to phone and they try and find out like that kind of stuff. It's like, so that seemed kind of odd to me. So that's where my first was like, that doesn't seem right. So, and I found the end, I just thought it's like, okay, that seemed kind of complicated, but
I understand that too. Yes,
I didn't like the destination. I liked the trip.
Yes,
a Hitchcock movie. It's like a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah,
very much so.
But maybe. Yeah.
I really wanted to like this movie, and I was having high hopes because I like that Ricardo Darín. Is that how you say his last name, Darín? Yeah.
Darín.
But the movie was flat. I mean, it started out great, but then after the kids disappear, it totally is flat. You always have like 5 or 6 suspects, but some of the suspects were very lame. They didn't need to have them. I thought it was pretty obvious who it was. And I was right.
I really didn't. I really did.
Very good.
I had it right. So it had such a predictable ending. It just didn't cut it.
Was that it?
I really wanted to like it.
It's sort
too.
of funny because I thought, you're the horror mistress, so you when it comes to suspense,
but there was
you sort of know all this.
Nobody got chopped up.
No. But we're talking about like suspense thrillers and everything,
I
so
love
she knows
suspense
that.
thrillers. I like psychological thrillers, but.
What she's saying is she didn't find it suspenseful.
No, not at all.
But see, I'm actually in the same park with her. I thought the first 30, 40 minutes were fine, and then it just goes really flat for me. Yeah. Because all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm not caught up in his emotion or the drama of it. I thought, because you're right, I think the setup is such a great setup.
Yeah.
The whole thing about racing the kids, okay, you take the stairs, I'll take the elevator.
Yeah.
That to
who
me
doesn't
was
do that?
Brilliant.
We do that.
Brilliant. And then all of a sudden they're not there. So I'm with him for say like the first like half hour, but then after a while it's like I'm beginning with you. It's like, okay, this is logical. They have to be somewhere in the building, right? And so I agree with you about his performance is great because like you're right, you're going to suspect everyone. The first person he goes after, I remember, is the concierge because he's the one who sort of knows everything. Right. He's like, no, you're lying to me. Like he thinks everyone's lying to him. So everything becomes a conspiracy. And this is sort of the part I appreciated of his performance because everything that's going in his head, you can see it. It's like all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm on this case. Oh, all of a sudden, my sister. Oh, her ex-boyfriend.
All this stuff. Totally and then all of a sudden it's like,
well, that's what I'm saying. See, for me, it's like, okay, now you're trying to build up a case against this.
Right.
So I agree with you that it's like, oh man, I just wish it kept it in suspense. But I will say this, didn't see the ending coming. And it's like, oh, wow.
I didn't see the end coming either.
I thought everything that's going throughout the whole thing, it keeps you in suspense. Like I said, it sort of lost me suspense. because something happens towards the end, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, really? And I thought, oh, I don't like that, but I was still impressed because, like, I did not see that coming.
I didn't see it.
It was so
either.
obvious.
Like I said, because you watch all those horror movies, and I don't.
It wasn't horror. It's more suspense mystery.
When you
movies.
watch a horror movie, it's always about who's going to be the killer or who's the person.
Murder
right?
mysteries.
So exactly.
Yeah,
So you're sort of in tune to that.
And
I wasn't in tune to that, and I really didn't see it. And I say this because of the two leads, both Ricardo Darín and what is her name?
Belén Rueda.
Belén Rueda,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Playing his wife. Now,
Yes.
because that's the thing, because his wife is also very frantic. She's
Yes.
saying,
Yeah.
what do you mean? What's going on? And she's building and building to this climax. And you think, what in the world's going on? So I will give it to them. I also actually give it to a lot of the supporting characters because you can see everyone is just as concerned, seemingly, as they are.
But
like I said, his detective friend,
But
Yeah,
the
they know the
concierge.
But the detective
No, exactly.
knows, to me,
It could have been a good
the
movie.
detective knows that, okay, you're going to get a call.
Right, yeah.
Now, they should have set up something for that call.
That's right. With
And
police.
they didn't. And that's my first where I went,
Well, I know it's sort
That's
of funny.
weird.
I think I remember when it first came out, there was a huge criticism about something about don't use your phone because you'll get a call. And then he
uses his phone.
let's just say his battery gets low. Or something, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
something like that.
battery gets
That's
low.
kind of, and that's one thing I sort of remember. It's
But
like,
because
oh, yeah,
at the
that was
same
horrible,
time, I
but-
really felt his pressure that he needed to be in court because this huge
see,
gangster
that-
case was going on.
That was the part that really keeps me into the game because, like I said, there are so many suspects at
Yes.
this point.
Too
right?
many.
Well, no, the more you have, I think the better off you are. But the thing was, it's like, okay, they do this, but then they talk about it, but then it's just sort of ignored in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't really lead you on with those red herrings.
It doesn't
right?
go
Yeah.
anywhere.
So that's why I would said it. The suspense doesn't get there, but like I said, it's like, ooh, this is sort of interesting. So,
Well, there's another thing I want to mention, but I'm going to
About
wait
that.
till George.
but
says it.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like, okay, it's a movie I was like really it hooked me at the very beginning.
Yeah, I thought it was
and
gonna
then
be
sort
really
of
good.
dwindled as it went along until the ending where it's like, okay, it just sort of
that
got me
more
again.
interesting again.
I thought
Exactly.
it would have been really. I thought it could have been a really great movie if they hadn't had so many suspects. And what if they? I kept saying this to them when they were watching. Wouldn't it be more interesting if you could hear the children, but
Yeah,
they
in
can't
other words,
answer?
if their father was
Yeah.
calling
Oh, no,
them,
no,
if their
no,
father was
No,
calling
because
them,
then it would
but-
be too obvious.
no,
yeah,
no,
then they
no.
find him immediately.
But then I was saying, Patty, but if you hear their voices, then it becomes one of those hunted kind of
Yeah.
films.
But
Then
her-
it becomes a,
but her-
But what I'm
horror
saying
film.
is, he's calling their name,
yeah,
right?
but her
This is
point-
why. This is what Lon's talking about. You're hooked on those horror movies.
Then it-
That was
then it
No,
becomes-
no, no.
Don't say that so
No,
disdainfully.
Oh no,
You
it's
know,
not disdainfully.
it
It
becomes a
is.
different
It's something
category.
you like. Yeah.
I totally agree with Patty.
Yeah.
If your father
Is
is
calling
calling,
you.
you and I have to assume the doors are really thick and you can't hear it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I assumed. Because if your father was calling you and your children, you
You're
will
gonna
answer your
answer.
father. Of
I
course you would.
disagree only because they set it up so well at the beginning.
Why?
Also, if you hear the voices, I would think it becomes a movie like The Others. You know, the movie The
that
Others.
was a good
Yes,
movie.
exactly.
Then it becomes
It's
that
like-
kind of horror film. You know,
That
it
was
becomes-
It's like, oh
great
my God,
movie.
they're
Yeah,
dead.
and they had the
They're
actresses
all
who
the-
starred in all those horror
Right.
movies too.
But
That was
that's
a
what I'm
good
saying.
movie.
Because of the beginning of that movie, it sets it up very properly of why. Yeah.
Oh, the beginning does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I kind of same because I really it hooked me right away. And of course, Ricardo Darín, he just does it so well. You're there with him. Yeah, and the movie does a thing that is one of those racing against the clock kind of movies because he has to go to this
Important court.
Yeah.
thing with some really bad guys. So you go, that one's doing this, and then it's and the movie does this thing too, kind of like when of course watch tons of murder mysteries, like we watch tons of murder mysteries where everybody is a suspect in the movie. Everybody you meet is a suspect, and they in the movie does the thing where it makes you go, yeah, why is he? It shows you. It makes you question everybody.
Right. Yes. yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How did he
He's a
not
suspect,
see that?
Right.
But maybe he's not. But no, I don't know about that guy. So I felt the same way. I was hooked, and then I kind of started, going down with it. But then, like you, I wasn't expecting the end either. It kind of threw me by surprise. So what I really love is, which a lot of I like about murder mysteries, is how detectives, because they're very observant, how they figure things out. I really loved how he figured it. For how he figured it out, that was pretty.
Because he's a lawyer, so he also.
So it's like, ooh, that's really I like.
He's
I like
working with a cop.
Yeah. So I like how he's like, how he really. That they did that really well. How he kind of how they kind of bring it to that. Okay, but yeah.
Well, there's one thing I didn't mention before, and it added a lot to the suspense to me. In the very beginning, she says, "Don't play that stupid game with the kids where you have them run down the stairs." So I kept thinking, oh, God, how's he going to break it to his wife? So that was really building up the suspense to me because I hope I like this guy. But Jesus, how's he going to tell her?
Yeah, that's...
You was really set up to be completely stressed out with him because he's got to tell his wife he didn't listen to her. Now they're gone. He's missing this meeting because the kids are gone. It was kind of like a stressful thing.
Yes,
that you were going through with him.
That just gets compounded.
It keeps compounding.
I'll also say, like I said before, I think this is the fourth time I've watched this movie. This movie gets better every time I watch it. It just, I mean, first of all, like we say, he's a god.
Yeah.
The man is a fucking god. I caught another movie of his recently too, where it's an earlier one where he plays a con man, and he's so wonderful in him. But wow.
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor. He really is. He had really me too. I was a nervous wreck. I could feel all of his pressures.
His smile when he comes home, when he's seeing the kids, it's just so lovely. It's just,
No, everything's like spot on with that actor. He just knows how to really create a scene.
Yeah,
so
does.
Every emotion's there on his face. He doesn't even have to say anything. And yet when he speaks, that has even more authority.
It's funny, we just did the Argentina
one. And you know what? He's in Everybody Knows, the Asghar, what's his name? The Iranian director.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he's in it with Asghar Fargan.
Hey, isn't he one with Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem? A new movie?
In what?
Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem.
A new movie?
That's the movie I'm talking about.
Oh, is that it? Oh.
New.
Okay.
Is that new?
Is it Javier Bardem is in it?
Oh, wait, I just saw a thing about it recently.
That's a great movie.
And I was going, wow,
that's a great movie.
I was going heavy hitter actors in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. It's funny because I love that guy's film. So it's like.
Yeah, and I had never heard of this movie. And then all of a sudden there it was on Prime, and not even for any cost. It was just there. And I said,
should we score?
I watched it and I said, man.
Okay.
I would say the only thing about that movie is there's a part of the middle where things just aren't right. But you don't know exactly why they're not right.
No, exactly. Yes. But that's sort of I can see that's part of the charm because it's like you're sort of thrown off by things and it's like, oh, now.
Well, I was on to didn't act right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But
other than that, I was surprised.
Okay.
Oh,
but you got
me?
Score. Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'll give it a 8.
I'd give it a 7.
I give this a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
But Asghar Farhadi. That's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But what do you give it?
I don't do the ratings.
So, regresamos, Che. We'll be back.
Okay.
So what was the name of the film?
So that's a wrap. Thank you for watching this episode of What the Flicks podcast. I hope you'll check out some of the movies we suggested because a lot of them are really good and we would love to hear your comments. Remember to subscribe, like us, and leave a comment. So until next time, adios.